questions if you raise your hand. So a few house rules. As of now, I am keeping everyone on mute so that there is no disturbance. And then as the speakers speak, they will be unmuted. And after that, for interaction, if you have a question or if you have an observation to make, please raise your hand. There is a facility on Zoom. You have to go to participants at the bottom of your screen. And on the right hand side, you will have an option to raise your hand. If you raise your hand, turn by turn, we'll try to put everyone in the discussion and interact therefrom. To begin with, may I request Mr. Ron Pakrashi, Chairman of the Food Processing, Agro-Food Processing Subcommittee of FICCI North Assam State Council, to deliver the welcome address. Ron, you're on. Please unmute yourself. It's unmuted from your side. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. Good afternoon, and thanks, Abhijit, for inviting me for this important discussion, which is a very important discussion of the time. And we really need to discuss on this matter because we are standing up in a situation where unemployment has increased to a great extent because of the migrants also coming up into Assam. Now, as you said, that COVID-19 crisis has caused immense hardship for the citizens. It has impacted the business and the economic activities very hard. Many industries have not yet recovered from the shock, and as a result, there are job losses across the sectors. The hardest hit area due to the crisis is the informal sector along with service sector. Starting from 2019, the global economy has been showing sign of ground run, but the coronavirus has accelerated the process. And we have probably hit accelerated the process, and we have now probably hit the bottom from where the graph can only move upwards. The best thing about having our backs to the wall is that we cannot run away from the reality anymore. This is a similar situation everywhere. From here on, we can start our rebuilding process. This is the best time to explore possibilities and give ourselves a new target. We need to take this opportunity when the entire world is struggling and Assam is in a better condition. We are getting back to normal much quicker than others. The FICCI has been supporting the state government to effectively deal with the COVID-19 response during the last 6 months. Our role was more profound during the last 3 months of lockdown. The crisis has now added a new dimension with reverse immigration of people from other parts of India and increased local unemployment. To effectively deal with this issue and create future revenues for the youth and the needy in Assam, FICCI is undertaking a drive to bring together all the stakeholders on a common platform and devise a strategy to promote entrepreneurship in the state. FICCI has also worked with various government agencies and corporate members to effectively bridge the skill gaps and ensure that the local workforce is the primary beneficiary of the upcoming opportunities in the state. The Assam State Council of FICCI will be organizing the various activities in the near future to increase our outreach. We plan to organize a business plan contest to support the best ideas from the state and support first generation entrepreneurs. We have identified few thrust sectors which may provide viable and sustainable opportunities. These sectors include entire value chain of the agro-food processing industry, starting from farm inputs, seeds, chemicals, basic modern tools, etc., to high-tech nurseries, post-harvest management, processing and packaging and exports. This sector is the least developed and highest opportunity area in Assam. Though the tourism industry is going through a major crisis and the effects will continue for a few more months, but if any tourism industry in Assam and Northeast is best placed to be take the new opportunity of travel 2.0 in the new world order. We can easily promote ourselves to be the safest destination with minimum infections, and the numbers are only because of the immigration. We must put our thrust on local sightseeing and local ecological experience of our own people. I think it is the right time to tell the world that our Eri and Muga silk is the least likely carrier of any infection because of their antimicrobial nature. Even the recent trend of using natural dyes and eco-friendly production process in our native textile industry couldn't have been timelier than this. Our startups may think of innovative products and solutions using our own textiles and immediately fill up the global void created due to COVID-19 crisis. While pharmaceutical production is a higher end industry, but there is a huge opportunity in this sector, particularly in manufacturing of active pharmaceutical ingredients. With global supply chain going through major modifications, Assam can soon become a major supplier of intermediate pharma products at competitive price. The electronics and manufacturing industry doesn't mean that we'll need to produce final products like refrigerators, TVs, mobiles, and sound systems. We can become suppliers of minor components and parts needed to manufacture such products. There are many opportunities, and these opportunities are waiting to be identified. We need to focus and understand the needs of the market and do something new, but not necessarily reinventing the wheel. We must look around us and grab every opportunity that comes our way to earn more for ourselves and the state, and also augment the capacity of our state to employ more people. We request you all to be in touch with our office regularly and also visit us by maintaining necessary social distancing. I welcome you all to this important webinar and wish you best of luck for your future endeavors. I also welcome all the permanent personality, mainly Mrs. Manjula Saikia, Madam, the Secretary Industry, Rajat Banerjee, Vice VC Corporate Affairs, Amway, Sandeep Ahuja, Chairman, FICCI Wellness Committee, Abhijit Sharma, Director, I think he's not here, Mr. Manoj Das, MD, Neramac, and I think even Mr. Subhas Bhattacharjee, now the consultant for CRI. So I welcome all of you to this webinar, and I believe that by the end of this session, we'll have much better interactions among us, and we will be having some solutions offered to the people and as individuals to the new entrepreneurs or the new unemployed people to become entrepreneurs in this crisis period. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ron, for the welcome address. Ladies and gentlemen, we are privileged to have with us Mrs. Manjula Saikia Bhuya, the Secretary Industries and Commerce, Government of Assam. Madam has had a very wide-ranging experience, both in Government of Assam as advisor to the Northeastern Council.
Hello.
We are indeed very privileged to have her with us and to learn from her. May I request Mrs. Manjula Saikia Bhuya to deliver her address and share her experience with us. Madam, you have to unmute yourself. Your microphone is still mute. Yes.
Yes, am I audible?
Yes, you are, ma'am.
Thank you. Good afternoon to everybody, and it's indeed a great pleasure, and I indeed would like to welcome on behalf of Government of Assam from Industries and Commerce Department to all the participants here. Thank you for initiating the entire Mr. Ron and Biswajit. Thank you very much. At the outset, let me just welcome all the industrial industries and the interested entrepreneurs to this land of red river and blue hills. I hope you will all agree. And although unfortunately this is a very corona pandemic hour and it's devastated the economics at the moment, and state government along with the central government are very much worried, and because it has a lot of difficulties and it caused to the human lives and also social behavior as of today, and you all are aware about it. However, every tragedy also will have to go ahead with the presence of humanity, and with this increased strength to fight adversity with newer opportunities and directions. That is why probably we are today joining this webinar. I consider it a singular opportunity to participate in this webinar with the representatives from all the corners and especially FICCI. I thank you for that. Well, I just would like to say that at the outset, the state of Assam is very strategically located, placed that it finds itself at forefront of the India's Act East policy, which envisions strengthening trade links and people-to-people ties between India and Association of Southeast Asian Nations, ASEAN countries. So as you all know, this is one of the world's fastest growing region, with an economy of over $3 trillion. It's not a small thing, and more than 800 million people market. So I would like to highlight at the first place that very strategic location Assam and Northeast is. And our local economy shows great potential with a compound annual growth rate of 12.75% between 2011-12 to 18-19. So primary economic sectors includes agriculture, which includes tea sector. You know, tea is our traditions for Assam. And petrochemicals and oil sector and natural gas is well known to all of us, hydrocarbon sector, energy, tourism, and food processing industries, as very rightly pointed out by Mr. Ron now. And also besides traditional crafts. We have credible institutions of higher learning also, first developing urban centers we have, and our boys and children are very well conversant with English speaking capacity. So the single largest tea producing in the region, this is a state that is known for all, which contributes to over half of India's total tea production. I really would like to emphasize that. The growing horticulture industry can be harnessed to benefit the agro and the food processing sectors. So in our endeavor to develop the state into a modern business hub with support, the state government is continuously upgrading and adding newer airways, roadways, waterways, railways, internet connectivity. Even during lockdown period, we never stopped doing so. Whatever stringent measures we had to take, even then, the trucks were flying, essential commodities were also definitely was not hampered, and including our neighboring states, we tried our level best during that critical period. Process is now on with the support of central government to begin direct flights between the state and the ASEAN cities. Already bids have been called. The India-Myanmar-Thailand trilateral highway, which is under construction, and provides the land route through Assam to connect to Myanmar and to onward to the Thailand also, Malaysia and Singapore. Finally, the government of Assam has also put in place an effective single window clearance mechanism, EODB, and 10% of India's navigable waterways and Brahmaputra and Barak River. Already Barak River has been, dredging has been completed, and Brahmaputra already we have started. And this will definitely connect, crucial in connecting this landlocked northeastern region to the country, to Chittagong port of Bangladesh. And that will be a new age to this particular connectivity situation. It might be interest of you to note that River Brahmaputra is designated as Indian Waterways #2. So Assam offers one of the best effective fiscal incentives, definitely very attractive. If you talk about Northeast Industrial Development Scheme of 2017 by the central government with 100% reimbursement of income tax GST insurance premium on plant and machinery. Then, apart from that, the 30% capital subsidy and transport subsidies are provided under that particular scheme. And to complement with that, state industrial promotion policy in 2019 was announced with 100% reimbursement of GST and power subsidies are provided. We are very open and sectoral policies we have on IT, tourism, startup, handholding, and all to support and incentivize industries in Assam. So far as industry and business are concerned, Assam is very attractive and potential destination poised with explore hitherto untapped markets with great potential to exponential growth in this near future. On my and my government, our government's part would assure all of you that we will ensure that effective and time-sensitive mechanism will be in place. Should you consider Assam as your next business address, we are at your doorstep and would like to help you and support you. We welcome all of you. Thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to speak. Thank you.
Thank you, madam. Thank you for your presence, for the wonderful, crisp speech of yours, and also for the support that you have extended to the Assam government, you personally, and all the officers in the industry department who industry during this lockdown period. I think Assam has been an example which many other states can emulate as to how industry can be facilitated. Sitting here in Assam, we can attest to that fact. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we have with us Mr. Rajat Banerjee. He is the mentor to the FICCI National Task Force on Direct Selling. Before this, he was the chairman of the task force for about 5 years. And he has a huge amount of experience in industry, in the FMCG industry and otherwise. It is indeed very fortunate for us that we have him with us today. There are a lot of things which we can probably learn from him, take advantage of his experience, and the new entrepreneurs could actually begin something, taking advantage from the experience that he and the other speakers have. May I invite Mr. Rajat Banerjee to deliver his speech. Rajat, you have to unmute yourself. Yes.
Yeah. Thank you, Bishwajit. And very good afternoon to everybody, including Madam who spoke just before me. It's always a pleasure to be part of anything in Northeast on a personal basis as well. I did my pre-university from Commerce College in 1986, so I certainly feel part of the society in the Northeast. Well, as Bishwajit briefly mentioned, I have been part of this industry, the direct selling industry, for over 20 years now. Most of you, just by a quick way of introduction, direct selling is person-to-person sales of products, and there's several companies, more than 50 mid to large companies that are involved in this kind of business. This would include Indian companies like Modi Care, etc., overseas companies like Herbalife, Amway, Tupperware, Avon. So basically, it is person-to-person business, and it is quite well established in the country for sure. It's a 15,000 crore industry plus, and as the name suggests, it involves ordinary individuals. So it's a very strong self-employment story. It's globally it's been seen that in times of economic crisis, etc., this industry survives and does reasonably well. And there's some learnings from the Indian context as well. Now, the COVID lockdown has been unfortunate for industry all across. There is no doubts about it. And the way the COVID is spreading, continues to spread, social distancing is a must. And that is where industries like direct selling do have a bit of an edge. Why? Essentially because most households, or rather all households whose incomes have not been hit too hard, God willing, continue to need daily use products such as your disinfectants, your shampoos, detergents, and of course, immunity boosting products, which could come in form of Ayurvedic products or the health supplements. So here is where this direct selling industry, can play a very significant role both to prop up entrepreneurship as well as to meet the needs of the consumer, because the consumer does not have to come to a particular shop or a store to collect his or her items. Uh, in today's context, all companies, all direct sellers have gone very strong on the digital front. Orders can be placed online through the digital medium. Payments can be made online. So a consumer quite simply could just place the order sitting at home, and the direct seller, now that the lockdown is opening up and people can move around a little, the direct seller can service the consumers directly without the consumer even having to step out. Now, um, so it is a combination of various, ticking the right kind of boxes. And what we have with us is some information I would like to share with you. If we just look at the various states that of Northeast, and this is data that the FICCI Direct Selling Secretariat in Delhi has shared with me. Assam, there are more than 1.5 lakh direct sellers already in place. And the good news at this point in time is that they are all still engaged in their entrepreneurship outreach. If you look at Tripura, there would be more than 30,000 people. Same number in Meghalaya, more than 50,000 in Manipur. The figures might surprise many of you, but this is a verifiable fact. And around the same 10,000 odd in Sikkim. And the beauty of this industry is that nationally, more than 50% of direct sellers are women. So the figures that I've been sharing with you could go up to close to 70% in Northeast, because the figures that we have with us clearly indicate that in Northeast, women are more open to taking entrepreneurial plunge in industries such as direct selling, because as you all would know, one very strong component of this industry is cosmetics. Now, while cosmetics is not presently in the list of essentials, I do understand, but in a generic term, once this economy opens up and once all products are being able to be traded and sold very freely, Northeast has always been on the higher consumption as far as cosmetics are concerned. And this is something which is not very surprising given the fact that most states in Northeast, the women folk in most states of Northeast are more, inclined towards using cosmetics and trying out high quality products. So even in that is a very strong tick box in terms of large self-employment opportunity to women. India is a young country. Millennials are, are re-engineering the way they approach their livelihoods, and COVID certainly is going to fast track that. And we're going to see probably more gig economy kind of an approach where people, uh, put more faith in an opportunity rather than a career like a job. So while jobs, we would like more jobs, certainly we wish the best to our economy. Maximum jobs need to be created, but the reality also is that that could take time, number one. Number two, if we go by global trends, like I said, the gig economy, where the youngsters globally are not willing to settle down for a routine 9 to 5 job where they work 11 and a half months in a year and then take 15 days off in a year. No, things are changing. The youngsters want more of their life. They want more flexibility. They want more say in their careers. And direct selling meets that criteria very well. And lastly, and most critically, the investment to start as a direct seller, we call it a micro entrepreneurship, a small business. The investment required is virtually zero. The only investment is time, effort, and commitment from the side of the individuals. As an industry, most of these companies that I've mentioned make in India. So to that extent, we are all Indian companies. 80-90% of products are made in India. We are Indian companies. We require precious little from the government. This industry has never sought any subsidies or any cuts of any nature from the government. We are very strong contributors to the local socio-economic fabric. Very strong on the tax contributions. I do have some figures out here, but I'll not necessarily go into too much detail. Suffice to say, we hit all the right kind of notes we hit as far as the industry is concerned. Yes, this is a terrible time for the economy across the country, across the globe. But in challenging times, challenging opportunities also emerge. And I would certainly today reinforce that pitch and say that this industry is a strong supporter, is a strong player of the socio-economic fabric of a country, of a state. It does not demand much. It contributes very significantly. And I'm happy that the FICCI Northeast team has given us this opportunity to speak up today. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Rajat, for the wonderful speech on direct selling. Presentation was wonderful, and I'm sure our people, the entrepreneurs, would have taken a lesson in that direct selling could be another mode of delivery. Given the COVID crisis, I think people are more and more reluctant to go out into crowded places, and this could be one mode of delivery which many of our entrepreneurs could take up, both established entrepreneurs and also many others who are looking at entrepreneurship as an option could look at this option. Another area where we have a lot of opportunity in the Northeast, we have always thought we have an advantage in this area, is the wellness sector. And we are privileged to have with us the chairman of the FICCI National Wellness Committee, Mr. Sandeep Ahuja. He is the director of Vlcc Limited and chairman of FICCI Wellness Committee. He has over 25 years of experience in the FMCG space, in wellness and retail services domains, in marketing, business development, sales, and many other areas. He has exposure of working in over 14 countries, including India. And it is indeed a great privilege to have him with us today. May I welcome Mr. Sandeep Ahuja and request him to make his presentation. He will be talking on the opportunities in the wellness industry.
Thank you, Vishwadit. Also, a quick hello to Manjula ji, Rajat, and all other distinguished members on the panel, as well as the participants. Thank you for having me over. Just to give you a quick background, I represent a company which has been a pioneer in the beauty and wellness space for the last 30 years. And if you look at that organization today, it operates essentially in three lines of business. One is operating what we call Vlcc Beauty and Wellness Centers, which currently number over 260 that operate in about 12 countries across Asia and East Africa. Our second line of business is operating what we call are the Vlcc Institutes of Beauty and Nutrition, which are the largest chain in Asia for skill development in the beauty and wellness domain. We currently operate 96 of these institutes where about 26,000 students get trained every year. And our third line of business is manufacturing and retailing of skincare, hair care, body care products, essentially in the herbal natural space, which are used as consumables in our treatments and therapies at our centers as well as at our institutes, and also our retail to over 250,000 retail outlets across the countries that we currently operate in. And all these three businesses have a lot of significance when it comes to the Northeast region and in Assam. And it's that context that I see huge opportunities for this space within Northeast and Assam. Largest opportunity, which Rajat alluded to also, like direct selling, Incidentally, VLCC also has a small direct selling business called VLCC Well Science, which incidentally is doing quite very well in the Northeast, where we have about 35,000 associates selling nutraceuticals in the direct selling space. As Rajat alluded, one of the like direct selling, one of the advantages for anybody who wants to step into beauty and wellness as a career, or wants to take up opportunities in this space, is that the entry barriers are very low. Wellness and beauty services specifically are by far one of the largest employers of manpower. Incidentally, I must also tell you here that we were having an interaction as an industry body a couple of weeks ago with the Honorable Union Minister for Medium and Small Enterprises, and he himself was quite surprised to learn that this particular domain gives employment to over 70 lakh people in India, and that's a modest sort of figure. My own personal view is that it gives indirect employment to a much larger sector of people. But having said that, advantages that I see in Assam for beauty and wellness are on both the product side as well as the services side. On the services side, as I mentioned earlier, low entry barriers. Anybody who wants to set up a wellness center or a salon can do so at a modest expense. On the product side, the fact is that Assam is all about biodiversity, and to give you a VLCC example, close to about 8% of our raw material for natural products is sourced from the Northeast region. And that gives you some idea of the opportunities there. And we are on the product side, in comparison to, within the large sort of FMCG space, we are a relatively modest sized company. And if we are at our stage sourcing that kind of percentage of our total raw material requirement for the Northeast, you can imagine what the larger companies would be using to acquire, the monies that they would be spending to acquire raw material from that region. Incidentally, we also have a small manufacturing facility in Assam, which is our second facility after the one that we have in Haridwar in India and one in Singapore. The third opportunity that I see within the beauty and wellness space is skill development. We currently in Assam operate skill development institutes for beauty and nutrition in Guwahati and in Arunachal in Namsai. And we see that, the big advantage of people getting into this is that from people from Northeast and people from Assam specifically are, how shall I put it, are as a mindset very well attuned to enter and be successful in this space. They have a natural inclination towards hospitality. They have a natural inclination towards customer relationship management. And as I see from Northeast, there is, unlike, let's say, people from South India or people from North India, mobility is not such a challenge, and they look for opportunities to move out. And therefore, the larger beauty and wellness space outside the region also has great opportunities for people from Assam. Lastly, I would like to just put on the table a couple of challenges. Certainly, not everything is hunky-dory. Couple of challenges. There is obviously in the Northeast region, and also to a large extent in Assam, there is issue to do with infrastructure, and that I'm sure the government is not. I'm sure. In fact, I know the government. All the governments in that region are making conscious efforts to get that infrastructure improved sooner than later. The other is also, specifically from the wellness perspective, we could do well to have more institutions of learning for wellness in Assam and Northeast, specifically nutrition colleges. There are not enough nutrition colleges, for example, in that region, and that's something that is, to my mind, also an opportunity if an entrepreneur wants to invest in the state, or somebody from within that state wants to look at what would be a good market. That would be certainly education, vocational as well as academic. And with that, I'd like to end my remarks. Thank you very much for listening to me.
Thank you, Mr. Ahuja, for your crisp remarks and the opportunities that you highlighted, the opportunity for setting up something in skill development, in education, in nutrition, and for highlighting the huge amount of natural resources that the region offers. I think the entrepreneurs here would do well to take heed and invest in these areas. This is one area where the Northeast has a natural core competence. Another area where we think, and I'm sure where we have a natural advantage and where we like to believe that we can do a lot more, is the agro-food processing sector. We're fortunate to have with us MD of the Northeast Regional Agro Marketing Corporation, NERAMEC, Mr. Manoj Das. Mr. Manoj Das is again a very highly experienced professional. He has worked with NETFI. He is the former director of Indian Institute of Entrepreneurship. He is currently MD of the of NERAMEC. He has experiences across sectors. He knows the region very well. He is from the region. He is from Assam, and he is perhaps the best known Assamese in Delhi. May I invite Mr. Manoj Das to make his presentation, please.
Thank you, Vishwajit, for a kind introduction. Well, I joined NERAMEC about 2 months back, on actually 31st March night, and in the thick of this COVID situation. Now I see so many people coming back, and also the people in other industries, they want to go into food sector. That's I think, a very good welcome step, because they all realize that I think unless we go back to the basics, other things are not very certain. And Northeast is basically a deficient region in terms of so many things like grains, then cereals, dairy products, fish, then even pork, then feedstock. The list can go on. So I think that is where our opportunities lie. And just to give you an example, somebody, I don't have the exact estimate, but people keep saying that, okay, we import about 15,000 crores worth of fish. Then I have done some estimation, that is about eggs. About 6 million eggs are imported every day. Then about 5,000 crores worth of dairy products. Then 550 crores worth of pork, meat. Then, so there is huge scope for, I think, going back to cultivation or multi-cropping or composite farming, where we can have like rice. We can go back to rice cultivation again. We can have jasmine rice and sticky rice or specialty rices. Assam has about 500 varieties of species of rice, and I have seen some places where it is collected and displayed. And due to innovation by hybrid varieties, we are actually losing
varieties which are really grown here for a very, very long time, maybe centuries. Then we import black gram, then green gram, and all these come from Burma. About 1 lakh ton of black gram is imported from Burma. Then 3 lakh ton of green gram is imported from Burma. That come to Assam. There is a huge consumption. So we'll have to now. They say a very welcome step that all our youth, they want to go back to the field and cultivate and try to meet the local requirements. But then whatever is produced, there is not enough infrastructure to process, store, process, and market. And even for cultivation, you'll find this year I started one app and started online distribution of fruits and vegetables, and found that huge quantities of watermelon, then other vegetables are grown, but then they don't find this market linkages, and this is wasted. The tomato it was sold for about 1 rupee a kilo in some places, and piggery, poultry products, other things also are not available on time. So I think government should, or I think their private enterprise can come now and start investing in this kind of like infrastructure, because now I think regulated market mechanism has been abolished and private players can play. So private mandis can come up, then cold chain, or if it is not possible, then nowadays portable cold chains are available, the truck mounted, which can be taken from one place to another, then refer vans for fruits. And we have quite a few varieties of exotic fruits, and Mr. Ahuja told that many of their raw materials sourced from Northeast. If you can have a list of that, sir, we can help you. Maybe, you know, we can tell people to grow and supply to you. We can have a relationship. Then there is lack of collection centers, sorting, getting integrated pack house. Then cold chain I mentioned. Then cold storage. Cold storage capacity is not adequate. So we import about 5,000 crores worth of potato to the region every year. That was found by one of our surveys from NetFi. Then processing has come up recently, but there is also subsidy driven in many cases. Like we have this mega food park where Ron was involved earlier. He will be able to tell you better why these things are not actually not industries are moving in, or why it is not thriving. Then of course packaging branding, that brand Northeast, we have one brand called One Organic Northeast, then Any Fresh, that is Ceramic, but unfortunately Ceramic is not in a great shape now, and we hope soon it will stand on its feet and will be able to serve the region, and this is the opportunity that has come. So there should be integrated approach of developing this agro-horti sector. Like recently, I'll tell you, in Tripura, they have started one block, one product. And last week only, they have floated a tender for appointing a PMC. And the fee earmark is about 2 crores. So you can see the size of the product that is coming up. UP has done well by one Janpad, one product. So we have been proposing here to start something like one panchayat, one product, where one particular item or commodity will be grown in large quantity, so that it can be processed and marketed with where we can create CFCs, then integrated pack house, then branding and marketing, where Ceramic can come in. And same way, we'll have to go for like backyard poultry, then fishery, then piggery, goatry. Then medicinal aromatic plant is another area where Northeast has huge scope because of our fertile or diverse landscape. So there are many schemes in Government of India and which actually fail to take off. And most of it is because it is all back-ended. If you can make it front-ended, I think it will take off. And one scheme I am handling in NETFI, that is MOVCD NER, Mission Organic Value Chain Development for Northeastern region. Even that is not taking up, and that is actually front-ended scheme where subsidy is given on total financial outlay and it is upfront. So I request entrepreneurs who are listening, they can come up for this value chain development scheme, and there are state nodal agencies which they can approach. They can also approach NETFI, or they can come to me here at Neramac, who can guide. And there is another requirement here I found is mentoring of entrepreneurs, and we should have a very good mentor network. And that I plan to start in Neramac. And anybody interested to spare their time, they may kindly contact me. And giving the right kind of advice at the right time is also need of the hour. Otherwise, what they do is called PCO mentality. Somebody is studying something, 10 fellows start same thing, and all will together fail. So there is mentor network, then support from government or banks, right kind of support. And we actually now following a system where, business plan, then applying documentation, going to bank 10, 20 times, and government departments also should be also forthcoming, and they should be proactive. We should handle, because time is not really good. I see a lot of stress among youth, and I hope their stress is relieved at the right time, and they are properly guided, and they are rehabilitated. Last 75 days have been very, very bad, and there has been a lot of displacement, distress, and a lot of people have lost their jobs, and they have come back to the state, to the region, and it is in large numbers. So we all should join our hand in supporting these youths and trying to help whatever way they can. And from our side, I'm always available. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Manolda, for your wonderful initial remarks. This is only a part of what we could gain from you. So I'm sure you will give us benefit of your knowledge more during the interaction. Dr. Abhijit Sharma, the director of II, has not yet been able to join. He is in a very emergency meeting at his office, but he has promised to try and join after 4 o'clock. In the meanwhile, we have a lot of questions. Ladies and gentlemen, apart from people who have joined here on Zoom, we have a large number of people who are watching this on YouTube, and we're getting queries from there as well. And I can see a couple of hands which are raised here already. So before I go to the questions in the chat, I'd like to invite Mr. PP Saikia. Please make your observation or your question. And it'll be great if you can indicate to whom your question is directed. Mr. PP Saikia, you have to unmute yourself. Yes, please go ahead.
Yep. Hello, can you hear me, sir?
Yes.
Can you hear me, sir?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah. Actually, I am very hopeful for the post-COVID period, and it has been already told in this webinar that the direct selling industry is getting very huge prospect. So I am very much interested in that field. So I'm very much interested in that field. So I am very hopeful, and this webinar will have given me a very good opportunity, because you have identified that particular aspect, that particular industry in a legal way, or like that. If FICCI is conducting something, if FICCI is dealing with something, then definitely we can think of it. That's all.
Okay, thank you. You don't really have a question. Mr. Nihad Ranjan Bora, if you have a question, please go ahead. You will have to unmute yourself. Mr. Nihar Ranjan Vora, Ms. Malabika Saikia Kohli. Yeah, please go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chakravarti.
Yeah.
It was a nice session, and I heard my senior sir Manoj Kumar Das sir speak. He has given given very useful session, although I joined in between. But I have a question related to, actually I joined to know about the schemes, what government is giving the schemes for MSME entrepreneurs after as an impact of after COVID-19.
Well, I think there are a number of schemes which the government is giving. Central government has announced a number of schemes. But may I request Madam Manjula Saikia to kindly respond to this query? Madam, you have to unmute yourself.
May I request the question once again, please, Malavika, please.
Yeah. Hello,
Madam,
ma'am. Very good afternoon to you. I would like to know about the government scheme. As Prime Minister, our Honorable Prime Minister, he had declared once that they will be giving some schemes to MSME registered entrepreneurs after as an impact of after COVID-19. So, what kind of schemes can we find for our as an entrepreneur? As an MSME entrepreneur.
Madam, you are muted. Yeah.
The Atmanirbhar, just a minute, the Atmanirbhar Bharat, which we were actually, Honorable Prime Minister has announced. Under that, the detailed guidelines are still awaited. But even then, this is basically to give relief to the industries which were affected due to COVID. And the point of concern that there are various schemes that are provided. Already Mr. Manoj Das has also highlighted to you regarding piggery and poultry and all these sectors, because KCC is even in the fishery also. And in case of the MSME, the industries which are having NPA, you might have seen already the guidelines is uploaded, or guidelines is still awaited, but the scheme, the announcement is in the web portal, and the benefits are provided, and banks will actually give this loan. This is basically a loan. This is not a grant. And you will have to go through that.
Ma'am, may I interrupt? Ma'am, I have a loan borrowed from NetFee, and last year only, and I started my own entrepreneur firm in event management. Actually, we organize events on our own identical ideas. And after COVID-19, because our 2019 was completely investing mode, and our revenue generation plan was in 2020. But it was going very, very well, and COVID has strike as all it has been strike. So our revenue plans, so all the destroyed. Then we turned into an international virtual platform right now. So at that time, I didn't have any option. So what to do? Either my wastage of my investment, first year of investment and hard work, or I could turn into an international virtual platform. Because I turned into a virtual platform, then I had got some international collaboration, and I decided to have our events on virtual world. In that case, so any kind of scheme or any kind of lower rate of interest, what loans, and they are providing us, our government, for as an MSME registered entrepreneur, or any kind of relaxation can
Thank
we
you.
have
I think we have got
as
your
a loan
question.
borrower?
Ms. Saikia, I think we have got your question.
Yes.
I think we should ask, wait for Madam to respond, and then maybe I can add something.
Thank you.
I think what is you're most welcoming. What you are saying, you have already taken loan, right? And
Yes,
from
ma'am.
and you want to work in a virtual platform. Am I right? What you're
Yes, ma'am.
saying?
Yes, ma'am.
Absolutely no issue with the loan.
Actually, ma'am, the the present situation is, yes, I
There,
came to
there is,
bank.
to be very cut short, I would like to say there is no interest relief given by government so far. We have, in fact, for a relief package, we have already moved a stimulus package paper to all the departments of state government, whether
Mhm.
really think about it, because that will give relief.
Any loan rate of interest relaxation
Yes,
will it be given? Because
yes.
this
Right.
2020 is going almost half of the year we have passed with no hope.
Yeah, but the government of India has not announced for any interest waiving of interest for the bank loan, and also so far not from our end also, not yet. But we are
Okay.
considering the same, and the paper has been circulated to all the departments. It's we are still awaiting them. Uh,
Oh,
Vishwajit from FICCI will react to your question again, please.
Yeah. If I can just add, apart from, let's not look at it only from the COVID angle. Apart from the announcements by the government of India related to COVID, there are certain specific schemes for the Northeast and some schemes by the government of Assam. So under those schemes, you are eligible for interest subvention or working capital loan, which you can avail. As a MSME, I think you can apply, you have to register and apply. We can discuss this offline. Feel free to visit our office. We'll guide you on the process. And
sure, sure.
there are various schemes which are irrespective of COVID or no COVID. I think you can take advantage of.
Yeah.
Also, the startup Assam, which Madam is heading from the government side, I think Startup Assam can also facilitate if your idea is a very innovative idea, because you are talking about online platform, etc.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much. I'll contact you personally.
Yeah, thank you. We have a number of other queries, but before we go to people on screen, we have a few queries which have come offline and through the chat. These are directed to Mr. Sandeep Ahuja. Sir, the questions are, question number one is, what are the materials you are sourcing from the Northeast? This question is being asked by, I cannot see the name here, but essentially, what are the materials you are sourcing from the Northeast? And second, a question from another person is, what are the opportunities for small businesses in the wellness space apart from running wellness salons, spas, etc.? Mr. Ahuja, if you can kindly respond. Sir, you have to unmute yourself.
Yeah. So it'll be difficult for me to give you the exact sort of list of products that we source, but suffice it be to say that, there is a certain percentage that I quoted off the raw material that we source from the region. These raw materials are essentially herbal plants and extracts, which we then use as ingredients in our nutraceuticals as well as our Vlcc natural sciences range of skincare, hair care, body care products. But unfortunately, I'm not the technical person, so I would not know the exact names of what the plants are. But like like Mr. Das asked, I will be happy to put the concerned people in touch and take it forward from there. The opportunities beyond opening wellness centers or salons or spas, as I see it within the Northeast in the wellness domain, are two from my experience. One is skill development. The government, both the center as well as the state governments, have a great emphasis on skill development, and for entrepreneurs wanting to take advantage of those opportunities, setting up a wellness training institute for beauty and wellness is a option, and it's not a high cost option. Just to give you an idea, we also have what is called a franchise owned and operated model for VLCC institutes, and we have incidentally 7 of these in the Northeast region. Of that, I don't know how many are franchise owned, but certainly the investment could be anywhere between 18 to 25 lakhs. Depending on the size and scale of the operation. But the interesting aspect is that within that, because skill development is such a focus area for both state and central government, there are a lot of government funded opportunities under the Pradhan Mantri Kaushal Vikas Yojana and several other such schemes, where these training institutes can get a ready supply of students whose fee is paid for by the government under these schemes. So that's, to my mind, a huge opportunity. And as I mentioned earlier, the whole wellness space, the people from Northeast and Assam are naturally inclined in terms of their mindset to be hugely successful in this sphere. The third opportunity, obviously, is as Mr. Rajat Banerjee mentioned, is direct selling, and direct selling for products like home consumption items, for products like nutraceuticals, is certainly a huge opportunity. That again has no entry barrier virtually. So anybody who has an interest in the wellness space, has an interest in sales and marketing, this can be a great opportunity.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for your response. Now, Mr. Abhijit Sharma, the Director IIA, has also joined us. But before I invite him to speak, Madam Manjula Bhuya, I think, has to leave. She has got an important meeting. But before she leaves, she would like to share a few things. Madam, please go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Ajit. I just, I'm sorry because we have some other meeting now. So I would like to only say that regarding wellness sector, it's a very good sector and very apt for Northeast, very rightly pointed out by the speaker, my earlier speaker. And what I would like to say that herbal medicinal plants are very well known, in Assam and or Northeast. So that is the sector which can be harnessed, and we welcome any kind of investment in that. And also at the same time, I would like to also highlight one more point is that you are aware, all of you are aware. I'm not only talking about the small business, but the production base from the China, many of the countries are now withdrawing and they would like to shift to other countries. I would request FICCI also to kindly take care of that and bring some kind of production base in this particular wellness sector to this Northeast India, Northeast region. That will definitely encourage, and the local entrepreneurship and the businesses to grow. Already Patanjali and all are already there in this sector. Ayurveda sector also we can think about. And I would request FICCI to kindly take lead in this case, bring some investment in a big way, and also encourage small businesses and farmers in this case. That will help the state. And we, from the government of Assam, we ensure the availability of land, because that will be for big production, we will need a bigger size of land, but may not be within Guwahati or near Guwahati, it may be a little bit far off, but we will provide the land. We ensure, and we will give a dedicated team of officials for supporting and helping out this. Thank you for all of you. Special thanks to Manoj also. His inputs were very nice, and I think we really need to work in this on all those segments, on those sectors. Thank you, FICCI, once again, because FICCI has been partnering with Government of Assam for last so many years. And even during Advantage Assam, we are grateful to you. Thank you very much. We look forward to bring more investment to the state of Assam. Thank you.
Thank you, madam. Thank you. As Mr. Ahuja already mentioned, I think VLCC also has a plant in the state, and as you mentioned, Panjali has. We definitely look forward to others also coming in, and we especially look forward to our local entrepreneurs setting up business in the wellness space and in other spaces. Now, may I invite Mr. Abhijit Sharma, Director, Indian Institute of Entrepreneurship, to speak to us, please. Uh,
Uh,
Dr. Sharma.
yeah, thank you, Vishwadip, and extremely sorry to all the other participants. I had another meeting. Thanks to now online meetings, and that's also getting crowded. So the meeting got just over, and I had to take an excuse from Vishwadip. I couldn't join you at 3 o'clock. I'm sure there must have been fantastic inputs from all the other speakers, and I would have been really benefited from listening to them. But nonetheless, a few points from us. I see also Manoj Das, who was earlier working at IIA as a director, and now, of course, with Neramek and definitely with Netfi. I begin with a few points. I think Northeast, taking the spirit of what Prime Minister said about local and growing global, I think Northeast has the basic wherewithal or the bandwidth to do that, primarily because food, agri, horti, these are areas that we need to really expand and grow. I will say we need to build up local chains more strongly. We'd say supply chains, but normally the supply chains are struggles across. Here, I would like to focus on building up local chains which feed local markets. So I think that is one element that we need to sensitize or strengthen and build up. At IIA, we've been dealing with clusters. So we know in terms of the non-farm sector, the farm sector definitely has a lot of inputs. Just to take an example, the other day we are just talking with a local entrepreneur who's working with rice-based products. And he wants, so his mission is to ensure that, our food habits in Assam itself, or in the Northeast, we have a rice-based culture, we have moved to wheat-based culture. So his mission has been to how to shift people back to rice-based eating, and hence all the food products related to that. So building up, so in other words, building up the local chain, feeding local markets, that is something that I think has a lot of tremendous potential. We have not worked on that very strongly. We need to work further on that. Food, agri, and horti definitely is one area. But beyond food, agri, and horti, we also have non-farm. And we have been working with now almost 50 plus clusters. We just getting into them. I think those, we see a lot of opportunities, not in terms of just the production, but also the logistics, the warehousing, all the things that need to be done. And people who would come back, the migrant laborers, I think could be, put in a lot of these segments that will grow around that. So this is one segment, I think, post-COVID that we need, and I think we have the potential to grow and take forward. That is number one. The second one, I was talking in terms of the, we already, I think, just before as I entered, I heard, I think Mr. Anand was talking about the wellness sector. Definitely a big segment which can grow. I see in the COVID situation, people want to be healthy. Again, I take a very micro example of yoga classes expanding. And now a person who was giving yoga classes physically are now gone into Zoom and expanding the entire bandwidth. He's now taking almost, I think, the entire day, he's having about 10 Zoom classes. So his base is increased. So while COVID, we were all sitting and working or desponding that what will happen, we have this wellness sector in terms of some, so that is another sector I think probably will grow. But I would like to take one point in terms of tourism. Now tourism, we all know, is an area that has suffered, and tourism is something post-COVID we will probably all be still worried. But very interestingly, there is an opportunity here. In terms of corporate sector, as we go forward in 3 months' time and 6 months' time, the corporate sector has what we call as year-end bonuses. Usually, most of these go to offshore. It'll go to Singapore or you go to South Africa or whatever. Now, thanks to COVID, going abroad would be, I think, an issue for some time. Can we, in the Northeast, as you all know, with still much better position ourselves to take in people of that segment? Now, so within the problem, within this one itself, I see an opportunity. So targeting people, targeting the corporate sector, where actually you are moving somewhere else, so as an opportunity. So that is something also as an opportunity I see in terms of in the Northeast. The other element that we find, and we're working with a group of startup guys. We are just building up in terms of providing them with some we call as award money. So we have about 695 of them, and through various pitching, now they have come to 50, and you're finally selecting 20 of them to be awarded 5 lakh. Now in this process, we have found a lot of these guys has fantastic ideas, but a lot of these guys are actually focusing on problems in the urban areas. Now, can we nudge these guys to move into solving problems in the rural areas, in the agri value chain, in providing access? All of these, I think, is something that is also waiting to happen. So that is something I think is an opportunity that we need to look at. And a small example, since I have an experience in financing, one of the areas why bank finance or financing goes very little in agriculture is because the agricultural risks are very high. Now, is it possible to have some of these startups work on defining the risk, predicting the risk, based on the parameters, various parameters of soil, of irrigation, of weather, taking into that. Now, once you do that, the bankers find a little bit more comfortable. So elements like that, so which would in fact boost agricultural finance, which will boost the agricultural finance or supply chain of agriculture. Now, so some of these are elements that I think we need to look closely now. Earlier it was there, the opportunity was there. I think they didn't look it closely, but now I think we need to really push, and this is an opportunity that I think we need to look closely. And Northeast being a base where agri and food and horti are the resources that is available, I think that's where we need to start up with. And of course, I think in the area, and I end up with this, in the area of as we are physically away or in our homes, working from our homes, or doing virtual online transactions, we need to keep in mind that can we build up a mechanism of trust and transparency, because businesses happen only when both of these occur. So I think that is also another element that we need to keep in mind. I believe very strongly that in the wellness part of tourism, agri, horti, food, that entire segment, I think we in Northeast are better pleased. And I think that is a segment that I think we can really boost, look at it forward, if we focus on currently on actually local markets and not really look at global markets or export markets currently because of the pandemic that is around. And if we do that, there is a huge market, and that's something that we can tap, and we can actually be the food basket for the entire country. Thank you, Vishwajit.
Thank you, Dr. Sharma. Thank you, sir. I think you have highlighted very pertinent aspects where we could take advantage here, Assam and in this. But we have a number of questions, many of them coming on the text, and many of them are related to you, and I look forward to your response to those questions. But before I go to the text questions, may I invite Ms. Disha Sharkar. She has raised her hand and she's waiting for a long time. If you have a question, please go ahead. But please, I request you to keep your question brief. Don't make observations at this stage so that others also get an opportunity. Please, please raise your question. You have to unmute yourself. Please, yeah.
Good evening, everyone. So thank you for this webinar by FICCI, and really privileged to get to hear to this eminent personalities. My question is about outdoor media and advertising industry, the post-COVID situation, because ours is a more physical industry. So in that case, what is the opportunities lying in the outdoor media and advertising?
Well, Ron, would you like to take that? You have to unmute yourself.
Yeah.
Yes.
So it was Sarkar, what you have raised a question about the post-COVID in the advertising sector and all. Well, I feel that now with the opening up of the states and the countries gradually, this sector will also grow on its own, because whatever was there before at the lockdown period and all, what the people were not allowed to move around, so you had a market was not there for you. But since now the market country is opening up, particularly the Assam has opened up more or less fully, the business have come into place and all, so people have to go again for their thing. But as on date, you have to more rely on your digital advertising, because people are more conscious on digital and they don't want to move out. See, if you really want to see that way, also the people are not moving out that unless there is a very important work, they only come out. For unnecessary reasons, they don't move out and they don't go out to other places and all. So outdoor advertising still will take some more time to come up, but you have to now think of a new opportunities of the digital advertising or digital marketing now.
We have another question from Mr. Chithun Basumatari. Briefly, please, Mr. Basumatari. You have to unmute yourself.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. It's very good morning to everyone. Actually, this is not a question. I'm asking for this. I'm planning to. That means I'm planning or going to open piggery farm. Can anybody help me in this? Those who are in speaker in this webinar.
Mr. Manoj Das, would you like to respond to this? I'm sure we have a couple of speakers who can help. The director, Ron himself. But would you like to respond, Mr. Manoj Das? You have to unmute yourself. Manoj Das, you have to unmute yourself.
Okay.
Yeah.
What is the question, Nishat?
Piggery sector. He wants to start a piggery farm.
Piggery, yeah, of late it's not doing very well because of this African swine flu and whatever. In Upper Assam and in many years they have incurred heavy loss. But the market assessed about 1,000 crore, and out of that, pigs were imported from as far as Gujarat, Haryana, then North India, about 550 crore. And we had some very good entrepreneurs here, like Manoj Basumatari near Balipara, Abhijit.
I know him.
You know him very well.
Yeah.
So you can ask him. It's a little risky business now, as I see, because in the event of any such flu or whatever, then you have to maybe cull the animal, then go into loss. So I don't know what to say right now. As of now, I think I won't advise. Maybe you can go for backyard piggery, not in a very organized way. He has taken money from Netflix and he's now stressed. You can try a traditional piggery, but then I think it was a very good lucrative business sometime back, maybe 2-3 months back. But as of today, it is, I can't say anything. It's your own risk, own call you have to take.
I totally agree. But Ron, would you like to add to that? I mean, the long-term prospects, how you see it?
Hello.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think I'm audible to
Yes,
everybody.
you are audible. You are audible.
Yeah. Now, what I agree with the Manoj da, what he's talked about when is the present scenario. But this flu thing and all, it is not of a very thing which is going to last for a pretty long time and all. But as on date, if you, I think Manoj da and other speakers will also agree that we have a very huge shortfall of as far as the pork is concerned in the Assam market or in the Northeast concerned. It's basically the Punjab and the Haryana market which supplying lot to the Northeast. So we have a big scope, and it is not that what Mr. Basubutari is looking forward that he will start his business, and it's not that he's going to yield very immediately. It will take its own time to have the piggery and start yielding its returns of his investment. So by that time, this flu and everything, I think, will not be there anymore. And well, it is a good business to start with presently. You can start. I think at present, you can start the business because there are some buyers who have come to, they contact me if they can find a source from where they can buy proper piggery for their own, because anyhow, somehow I'm attached with an online company, marketing company. They are looking for suppliers on a B2B business for their brand, for piggery and pig meat, pokes and all. But with that, I don't know I'm much clear about the pig because what about the slaughtering house, how proper slaughtering house we have in Assam for that. That I think Manoj da or our will be able to give me more guidance on, highlight on that.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. We have Mr. Sudeep Chakravarti. Briefly, please. We have lots of questions, and we would like to take as many as possible. Sudeep Chakravarti.
Hello, good afternoon.
Yeah.
What is the most challenging aspects of a startup post COVID-19?
May I request Dr. Abhijit Sharma to take that? Sir, would you like to take that, please? So you have to unmute yourself. Yes.
I think your host is doing the unmute. I can't do it myself.
Okay. Okay.
Right. Okay. Now, thanks. Just 1 second on what Basumatari was saying on the pigs. I believe very strongly, and I agree, very uncertain times during this COVID. It is the first time we have had it. We don't know how it goes, how it peters out. But having said that, I believe piggery has a lot of potential. And like even Manoj Das has said, and Ron has also said, there is a huge market which is currently being catered from Haryana and Punjab. So there is a market, and I think that needs to be built up. My element is to reduce risk, and I agree with Manoj Das that the risk is high now currently. But to reduce risk, maybe you can look at integrated piggery come another thing. Fishery could be another one. I mean, so you kindly go and have a look of a farm. He's Chaudhary, based in Soigaon. He's doing a sort of a integrated. I don't know whether you've been there, Mr. Vasumutari. I know you have met Manoj, but have you met Mr. Chaudhary, who's based in Soigaon, who's been doing the integrated farm, including piggery and fishery and other things. So have a look at maybe an integrated thing to reduce risk. This is about the earlier question. Coming back to Dr. Sudeep Chakraborty's question of startup. COVID, a startup here itself, we have been having a problem. For one of the major problem is money, finance. And that's the reason why I think thanks to NERES, thanks to NEC, we have got about at least in getting some funds, tranche of funds, or like I said, initial grant, because as you know, startup is a concept whereby you are not having immediate revenues. So the revenues will come later on. And hence, you need to have some amount of initially grant funds, and then others, what we call as, accelerator funds, ICID funds. So the entire different mechanism to fund a startup, primarily because they're going to disrupt, and primarily because revenues do not come immediately. So there is a risk in the entire startup thing itself. COVID brings in, I would say, both problem, but also opportunities. Because I think as a startup, I think we should be able to quickly align our model to something that I see as an opportunity. I'll just look at the immediate this one of the PPE and guys getting into the production of PPE and all these COVID equipments to begin with. So my element is that you need to get into that, but you also need to ensure so the problem of finance remains. That is something that I think we need to tap. But my feeling is going forward, and this I'm talking as a representative of the government. The government also is keen to ensure this segment to grow. So I think there will be public funds, more public funds in this segment to ensure that the players, which are the right players, can be, you can take it forward. So I think look for the public resources which are around. We are trying to build up another segment of ICID. We don't have that also. What we call as the initial ICID fund with FINER, in collaboration with FINER, we are trying to do that. So hopefully that is also should be in the pipeline soon. So if that happens, and then we have the grant funds coming in. So as a pipeline or as a funnel, that is something that you can latch on to begin with. But I think, like I said, as a startup, kindly look for an opportunity, new opportunity that you need to realign your goals, because that's what startups are. They look for opportunities. So I think that's something that you need to look for. Yes, Vishwaji. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. We now have a question from Shatadeepa Sandilia. Please go ahead and please mention to whom you are directing the question.
Yeah,
yes,
good
please.
afternoon, everyone. Yeah, my question is like the entrepreneurial culture of our country was already at an infancy, and we would always have to motivate our youth to opt for entrepreneurship as compared to a secure job. Now, with this pandemic occurring, is it a setback for the entire entrepreneurship culture of our country? How to deal with it? Like how to boost the morale of the prospective entrepreneurs again to opt for entrepreneurship and not, not prefer the secure jobs?
I think we'll take one more question. One question from, we have a question from Rupam. Please go ahead.
Hello.
Yeah, please go ahead.
Yeah, I have a query. I mean, I wanted to know now, there's certain, every year, there's certain natural calamities that Assam goes through. So I would like to know what is the scope of MRE or meal ready to eat, I mean, which is normally supplied as a military ration in the other countries. So is there any scope of MREs?
Okay, thank you. So these two questions. To the first, may I request you again to respond, Dr. Abhijit Sharma, and also to the second, if you like. I think it is muted from your side now. Yeah.
Yeah, done. Okay. Hey, no, the first question, jobs are also not there. So, while entrepreneurs have difficulty, there is no jobs also around. So you can't go to jobs back too. That is also not there. That's missing. Like I said, this is unprecedented. Yes, we all are looking at how do we go ahead. But my feeling is that even during this time, you have some businesses which have gone ahead quickly. One, I think, is something that I think we need to look at is the technology platform. I think that is something that is going to happen, that is going to remain both for convenience, providing access. So I think we have been doing a little. I think that is something that we cannot do without now. So I think that is something as an entrepreneur we probably have to adopt. for providing our services. That's something that we cannot avoid. So that is one. But like I said, I think as entrepreneurs, we need to muddle through. I think these are little trying times, and hopefully I think we have some funds and government comes in. There is also, you can also leverage on, if you have started an enterprise and you are under the MSME, then you can just leverage some funds from the government, benefits that are around. But if you have not started anything, I think these are little difficult and challenging times. Yes. For Rupam, what did you say? What was it?
It was ready to eat food.
I think that is definitely, I think that definitely has a lot of scope. I'm sure, if you can do that well, have a distributed channel, which is good enough, but then you have to also ensure your supply chains, etc. All that you need to work through. And Assam and in the Northeast, I think what we do is, what we don't do is the working down the model thoroughly, detailed. That's something that is missing. So I think that if you do it thoroughly in terms of the segment that you're addressing, how do you ensure the distribution? How do you ensure the storage, inventory, all that? Then I think definitely it can be done. Yes. Anyone else can take it up.
Thank you, sir. I think Mr. Pakrashi has had a lot of experience in the food space. And I'd like to request him to respond to this question. This is a very interesting question.
Can the question be repeated again? I had to take a
the prospects of ready-to-eat food in the current situation in Northeast, and particularly given that Assam has a lot of natural calamities happening every year.
Well, that's a very good question. Whoever has raised it, I'm sorry, I was not there for some important call had come up. That's a very big scope which is coming up. Rather, yesterday evening only, I received a call from one of my old associate or friend, you can say, that he has been given a contract from the railway to supply ready-to-eat foods to the railway. So this is now the railway is also looking for such vendors who are able to supply them ready-to-eat things. So they were looking for some consultant who can help them in packaging and all, because in ready-to-eat, the biggest challenge is packaging. So that packaging has to be important. For that, you need to have a proper system in place so that you can have the packaging thing done and you can supply. And ready-to-eat thing is always there in even with the new generation people, we have always noticed they are more fond about ready-to-eat food. You go to any departmental store, sausages or whether it's cutlets or whether this thing. So they start picking up, and because it's with the time available with them and most of the people have been working, so ready-to-eat food market was always there, and now it has grown up further. And in future, I very well understand that I have a very vision that it will grow much bigger than what it was earlier.
Thank you. Thank you. Now let me take a few questions from the YouTube stream. Mr. Tapan Deka wants to know, is there any platform for knowing about the aromatic plant saplings and exotic food, and how much of land is required for this type of project? Then Ms. Abhijit Sharma wants to know about any suggestions on organic or green tea sector. Mr. Nipan Saikia says, if I'm going to start a business in this pandemic situation, is it good for me to start a franchisee or direct selling business? So there are more, but could I request the speakers to kindly respond to these questions before we shift to the other questions? Can I request the Director IIA to respond to the first question on aromatic plants, sapling, and exotic food? If there is any link. The question is there any platform for knowing about the aromatic plants, sapling, and exotic food? That is the question.
No, Vishwajit, sorry.
Yeah.
Sorry, no. No, I think probably Neramak would be able to do that. But what I'm saying is aromatic plants, there is a institute at the national level at Lucknow, which works on this, called the, I forget the full name. I don't know, Manoj Das might be knowing it. I forget, it's Center for, I'm forgetting the name. I think they can, she can get back to me personally later on, and I can connect with that. So in terms of the, an All India Institute which provides that. But otherwise, I think there are people who are entrepreneurs who are working around this. There is a lady who's a famous beautician here, Madhumita, Dr. Madhumita. Yes, she is working or producing cosmetics from local Luzon. She can go and contact her. I think FICCI, I don't know whether she's a member of FICCI. So those are the people whom you can contact and find out more in details about them. So that's something you can do, I think. And maybe some other speaker can add, as I'm not very well versed with this segment.
Sure. Manoj, can you also respond to this and also to the second question, which is on green tea? Any suggestions on the green tea or organic tea sector? Mr. Manoj Das, MD Naramek. You have to unmute yourself. I think he is not being able to come back, or he might be busy with something. But let me try to respond to this question on green tea and tea sector in general. Well, you see, while the COVID has had an impact on the tea sector, no denying that, but tea happens to be one of the staples, one of the requirements that people have across the globe, more so in India. So the demand for tea is there, has been there, and is going to be there for some time to come. The challenge that we face in the tea sector in Assam is that our cost of production versus that in some other countries is high. And it is, I think, there in that space where we need to act, we need to become more efficient. And the taste, the taste for tea world over is changing to a great extent. The younger generations are not so much fond of orthodox. Even when it comes to green tea and organic tea, and they want modern forms of tea, tea sachet. And unfortunately, a lot of sachet packing and all that is not happening in Assam. I think this is one space where the small scale sector can really come in. And maybe the other speakers can add to this. And the question on franchisee or direct selling business. The question is, if I'm going to start a business in this pandemic situation, is it good for me to start a franchisee or direct? May I request Mr. Ahuja to respond to that? And after that, Rajat, I think, had to step out, but we have someone from MS, Sandeep Mukherjee would be there. I would also request Sandeep to respond. Mr. Ahuja, please.
One of the biggest attractions of getting into the direct selling business in these present times is twofold. One is the fact that, as I mentioned repeatedly, that the entry-level barriers are virtually nil. All you have to do is to align yourself to a good direct selling company and start representing them at the ground level. However, you have to be also sure about your ability to succeed in this, because there are a few qualities that are required. It is an entrepreneurial role, so you have to be largely very self-driven. That's one. Number two, you have to be a people's person, because this is all about interaction with individuals. And number three, you have to be very fond of doing sales, because at the end of the day, you're selling a concept to an individual and trying to convince him or her to buy your product and close the sale there and then. So you need to introspect whether you have those qualities. And if you do, then this is, whether it is COVID times or not COVID times, this has always been a sunrise industry. some of the larger, it's a very well kept secret, but some of the larger FMCG players are not the traditional companies that we know about. Instead, these are large multinational direct selling companies that have the bigger share of the market. Getting into direct selling is also, if you have a particular interest in a particular field. So if you are interested in nutraceuticals, this is the best business to be in. If you're because there are some very good companies in the nutraceutical space which offer fantastic products for direct selling. So also home hygiene products and so on. So yes, I would put my bet on starting a venture in direct selling, irrespective of whatever time of the socioeconomic environment we are existing in.
So would you also like to touch upon the franchisee models, various franchisee models, and what are the options there?
Yeah. Well, yes, in the beauty and wellness space, as I already alluded to, there is the franchisee option of setting up vocational training or skill development institutes for beauty and nutrition, because as I see it, there is a big opportunity because of not enough of those institutions of learning being having been established so far in that region. There is also franchise opportunities in the wellness services space. But franchising as a business requires you to have a certain access to a certain amount of capital. Without that, obviously, you can't set up that business. So if you have the investment capability, and investments in this, in the whole franchise space could be anywhere between 10 lakhs to 1 crore. So it depends on what is it that you want to look for, and what is the kind of appetite you have for investment.
Thank you. Thank you. Sandeep, would you like to also add to what Mr. Ahuja has already said?
Yes, thank you very much, Mr. Ahuja and the organizer, FICCI and Vishwajit. Let me thank you. This is a very wonderful session going on. So let me just add with the point Mr. Ahuja mentioned. That is true. And I'd like to give an example of Amway. Like in terms of this COVID situation, every other conventional companies and businesses was eventually stopped, completely stopped. But by virtue of direct selling, because this is a people-centric company, and they are selling product by home. So honestly, during this situation, there is a roadblock for distribution of products, but otherwise also through the ordering process through websites and apps, all the direct sellers of Amway, they were into the business continuously. There was a dip in the business, definitely, maybe 20-30%, but it was not it was always in a running position, and there was an issue with the distribution of products that was handled by our logistics team, and now home delivery. We are completely working on home delivery systems by that time, and we got a very good support from administration in the states, like from DMs, even from the police departments also, to help this home delivery system pan India. So that is how I'll say that in any situation, maybe with during the COVID, even after also the COVID situation, there are still, we cannot say that this particular disease is completely abolished from the society. So in any kind of situation, direct selling business is a sustainable one. That's all from my side.
Thank you, Sandeep. We have a very interesting question from Manjeet Kashyap. He says Assam has got equal potential as Kerala in the spices sector, if not more. But the infrastructure here is weak. What can be done to make Assam the spice hub of India? I think this is a subject very close to your heart, Mr. Pakrashi. Would you like to respond?
Yeah, see, yes, what I agree with what he's talking about as far as the spices is concerned from the Northeast. The only, I also agree with his thing that our infrastructure are not up to the level for handling the spices what we have in the entire Northeast. Whether it's ginger, whether it's turmeric, or whether it's black pepper, because people infrastructures which we have and the climatic conditions also sometimes doesn't help us. The basic infrastructure which is required in this sector is the infrastructure of collection centers related with, particular for ginger, you need a refer cold storage systems for our control temperature systems with humidity temperature thing, so that it can be moved out of the place where it has been cultivated to the market. That is one of the biggest sector which has a scope which is lacking and which has an opportunity also. Any investor who looks into this aspect of moving out of the ginger from the interiors of the market, of the villages where it has been cultivated. There are people I know who are very much have started in this COVID period. They have started the ginger business now. They are already tied up with some of the buyers out of Assam for supplying ginger, number one, turmeric, and your bhut jalakia, what we say is king chili. So market is very much there. The opportunities are much higher, but as such, the infrastructure is low. Here, the infrastructure of cold storage is not that setting big cold storages across in Assam or in the Northeast. It has to be small cold storage system where maybe I would say 100, 150 ton cold storage system. And main thing, what Manojda had earlier referred about, refer vans or movable cold storages, which are being set up on the trucks, mini trucks. And these type of investment can be taken up by the young entrepreneurs who can be a logistic partners for the buyers, because buyers sometimes they go to the village, but they and the sellers, they can be in between them to make this happen, to move off the particular ginger what we are talking about in this part of it. Second is the turmeric. Yes, turmeric is one more thing which is we can really market it out, and people are doing it. There are good examples, success stories are there from Assam who are even exporting ginger from Assam. So scope are there. Only thing is we have to organize our things. The infrastructure has to be more organized. So we should not always rely on the government on this aspect. Now the private sector has to come forward. The young entrepreneurs has to come forward to take the opportunity of this. This is a very thing which if we can do this, we have a very big market across the pan-India and international global market. Again, as I agree with Dr. Abhijit Sharma that we should not look for global market at present because of this pandemic. We should look for our national market itself, which is also a huge market. There's a gap and we can cater that market from Northeast for spices.
Thank you. Thank you. Mr. Manoj Das, I think he's back. Manoj, you have been mentioning about goat, I think setting up goat farms and all that. Would you like to elaborate on that? And to that, I would like to add another question from Mr. Ronel Singh. Given your background of net fee, your connection with the financial sector, I think you might be able to, you might like to answer this question. The query is, to what extent are the financial institutions going to help the new entrepreneurs in setting up new projects?
Okay. Firstly, I have another answer to give. That is about the medicinal aromatic plants.
Yes.
See, we have an R&D center in Khetri, and there are quite a few number of medicinal and aromatic plants we have experimented on, like medicinal plants like Sugan Mantri, then Ashwagandha, then like Gilu. All these are there, and we also have a repository of endangered medicinal plants. That is the Department of Biotechnology project we have done, and we have collected about 300 different species, and that is kept in our germplasm garden there. And then aromatic plants we have vetiver, then citronella, lemongrass. These are all cultivated and collected from different places and experimented. Then another also we have trying with that is Assam Indigo. That is actually it's a dye, national dye. Then secondly, I was mentioning about goatry. So recently, the price of mutton has shot up. Retail, it is selling at about 800 rupees a kilo. And unlike piggery or dairy, these goats eat anything actually. And the hilly terrains are very good for goat farms. I have seen in Switzerland, they have very, very big goat farms. And it is nearly, you can say, zero input, activity, because you can have different segments where you can grow grass and all at different intervals. Like every day, one segment, we can allow them to graze, and if they come back, I have seen such farms in Abhayapuri, some people are doing. So goatry is a very good opportunity that I think suddenly cropped up. I will suggest people to go, instead of piggery, they should go for goatry. I think it's much cleaner than less hassle and less, what do I say, less demand for food in that case. They can eat anything. And our hilly terrains like near Guwahati, there are so many hills are available on the Meghalaya side. They can be taken on lease and they can start. And it can be started with very less capital. Only thing we'll have to go for, kind of security so that it is not stolen and other things. And their food is given on time. Then lastly, about financing, there are, now government has become quite liberal. Even at net fee, we have, there are mentoring. One can go and talk to our mentor on Monday, Wednesday, Friday. I have also, like Malavika Sekia Kohli, if she is listening, she is one of our mentees. When she came, then I introduced her to our mentor, and it was done with less hassle. There are quite a few other entrepreneurs who have been helped that way. Then IA is there, and there are other institutes who really guide them. But then they have to come out with some idea about what to do. And most successful people, I say, they are engaged in the thing they like. It's not that I want to do something, kiba ta karo. So there is nothing called kiba in business. They have to know what they want, and there's a clear cut, business plan. And money, I think it is available to the right people, and they should be able to present themselves, because the business of banker is to give money and earn interest and survive. So they are looking for the right kind of people on whom they can invest. It is quite wrong to actually blame the bankers alone that they don't give the loan. They will look at the business plan, look at the entrepreneur, look at his credit history, and they are definitely there to extend help. And we also have a venture capital fund called Northeast Venture Capital Limited. That is a fund of 100 crore promoted by Ministry of Donor and Netfee. Then there are a host of other institutions around, and for agricultural, agri-horti activities, NABARD is there. Then also there are national, under Ministry of Social Welfare and Justice, there are about 7 financial development corporations that are called National Backward Classes Finance Development Corporation, National Scheduled Caste, National Scheduled Tribe, then National Minorities, then Rashtriya Mahila Ayog is there, then National Physically Handicapped, National Safai Commerciary. They all give loan at about 3 to 4% interest, and those are not really tapped. So these are sources of funding, and I would suggest they should start small, not come out very big, but it should be so small that it cannot support them. So it should be kind of manageable business, and the definitions have been revised recently. All I think micro is 1 crore up to 1 crore investment. Then turnover is 5 crore. Then small is about 10 times of that. Then medium is another 2 times of that. 1, 5, 10. That's how I remembered. Then 5, 50, I think 100 or 200. Medium sector?
200 crore.
200 crore. Yeah. So that's my concluding remarks. Thank you.
Thank you. I think we are slowly running out of time. We have quite a few people who want to ask questions, but we'll be able to take only a few. What I'm going to do is I'm going to pick up a few questions from the chat, and if anyone has a question, we can maybe take one or two questions here. If you can raise your hands, maybe two at the most. So from the chat, let me see. I have a question from Alpana Barua. The question is about the tourism industry of Assam. This is an interesting question and a very important question because it's one of the most potential sectors and unfortunately one of the most badly affected sectors in Assam today. So she is asking, my question is, what about tourism industry of Assam post COVID-19? Because we already have lots of issues regarding accommodation sector after the COVID-19. It has become difficult who are in this industry to convince their customer regarding safety. This is a very interesting question. Can I request Dr. Abhijit Sharma and also the other speakers to respond to? I think we can gain a lot from your experience. Dr. Abhijit Sharma.
Vishwaji, what is the question? I didn't get the question.
The question is about the tourism sector. What's going to happen to the tourism sector post COVID, and how do we deal with the situation where people will be looking for safety? And
I did talk about it. I think other speakers will also probably add. I did talk about it. Yes, currently we have an issue, but I said very quickly people will move. You know, one of the segment, and I think we need to do act or move very fast, is I think for the tour operators, local tour operators, and I don't know whether the person is a local tour operator or an entrepreneur. If he's a local tour operator, you need to connect with the national tour operators, which would actually, you know, funnel the corporate tourists which move in to other places. This is what is already happening. I had a just discussion some time back with Economic Times travel group, and they were looking at, so they were saying Uti is a new Switzerland, and Goa is a new Maldives. So I was looking at, why should Uti be the new Switzerland? Why can't Northeast or Meghalaya be the new Scotland, etc.? So in other words, they say there is a huge segment, and these are captive market. These are captive audience. So I think that's something that we need to look at. And if you're a tour operator, I think you need to, through your association, actually get together with the national association and try to tap this market, which is going to ramp up very fast, maybe in 2, 3, 4 months time. That is when the new season comes in. So currently for the next 2, 3 months, yes, there is an issue. I think that's something that we have to look at it as a lost year. Probably we'll have to do that. But going forward, we have to do this fast because there are other players who are already doing it. So that is something of a segment that we need to address immediately. Going forward, my feeling is since Northeast is even in the COVID situation, we find Northeast as a place where people look up and say, okay, here much thing is not happening. This to be most natural. I think we need to position this and work slowly on this. It will take some time to build up on this. We also have people who will come. I look at one segment which is there, which is a small segment, but I find there's another segment which within the tourist and a person who comes and stays here. There's a new small segment which has come out, is consultants which are here for 6, 7 months. They don't want to rent a house. They don't want to be in a hotel. This means something in between. So that I've already seen. I've seen some places who have some of the homestays which have immediately got into this. I have a few friends of mine who has got into this. So I think we need to look at these very niche segments. Yes, business will be low, but within the low business, I think there are some niche segments which are coming out. We need to look at it closely and work out. That is my take for at least next 6 months or so. But my longer term thing is people will travel, and people will travel to more healthier places. And the Northeast is one place I think people will definitely travel. So I think going forward, I think we probably don't have to worry so much. But for the immediate, I think we need to figure out some of these niche segments out. That's my take. I'll leave it to the others.
Thank you. Would you also like to respond to this, Mr. Ahuja? There is another question addressed specifically to you. That is, what are the prospects of wellness tourism? How do we see it in the Northeast?
Well, I completely agree with the earlier speaker. The fact is that, you know, wellness service, wellness tourism, for which people traveled overseas at the drop of a hat, is now something that is in the bit of a distant future. And like all countries, I see that happening in Thailand. I see that happening in parts of Europe, that the focus has shifted to domestic wellness tourism. And Assam, with its climate, with its topography, with its traditional, with its traditional systems of medicine and so on, is extremely well suited to attract that segment of tourists who's now not going to be going overseas. And coupled with the fact that, you know, I rather suspect that young people will start investing in preventive healthcare far earlier than they used to in the past, given the whole understanding that people have that, you know, if your immunity is strong, you are less susceptible to illnesses like COVID-19, and therefore, you know, preventive healthcare investment will, from a consumer perspective, will be very strong in the coming months and years. And wellness tourism is well suited to attract that investment from the consumer.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Mr. Ahuja. Manojda, can I also request you to respond to this question on tourism? You have had a lot of experience in this area as well. The question is, what happens to tourism post-COVID tourism in Assam? And how can we take care of the safety aspects? How can we give assure travelers that it's safe to travel to Assam? If you can specifically address this particular area as to how the messaging part of it, how do we assure customers, assure travelers that Assam is safe to travel as far as COVID and health is concerned? You'll have to unmute yourself. Manojda, you'll have to unmute yourself.
Yeah, I have done it. I think during this lockdown period, I am myself going to the rural areas. There is a place near Guwahati, Digaru. I stayed in some Changhar in Digaru and felt quite safe. So I think post-COVID, now people like to go to rural areas, and that particular aspect we can market, like safe, and once you're inside the village, rural areas, you feel quite safe. Only thing, villagers do not feel safe about you coming from outside. So if both sides meet, I think this rural tourism is going to flourish. Our community tourism can really accommodate the people who want to go and enjoy serene, beautiful our countryside. Then also mingle with the community, then enjoy their lifestyle, and so that aspect we can really promote. And like our riverine areas, we can develop these small like houseboats, cruises, where people can go and avoid like crowded places. So then this trekking and all, there with a lot of social distancing, we can do adventure tourism, and where really they need not have to come in contact with other people. So we have to actually market that, and it's possible to revive our tourism with a new twist, with new orientation to rural areas. So all is not lost, I think, for this. And I'll tell you about one example, Brahmputra Jungle Resort here. You can talk to Abhijit Sharma. Recently, he had a spurt of people coming to his resort because of its remoteness. He said, like, he thought all hopes are lost, but now I think his order books are full with people who would like to come and stay and spend time in the seclusion, far from the maddening crowd of cities. So we'll have to concentrate on this rural tourism, community tourism, and the other aspects like that. Camping, trekking. People like to go away from the cities, and that is where our opportunity lies. Is it okay?
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. I think we have already overshot our time, but if all the speakers agree, we'll take two last questions. Abhinav Tamuli has been asking about the prospect of bioenergy. So he has raised his hand. He can ask the question himself. And we have Rahul Sharma, who has been waiting for a long time. Rahul, go ahead. Your question, and please mention to whom you are directing it.
Thank you so much, sir. It has been a wonderful webinar. What I want to ask is that being a student of energy technology, and as I want to be an entrepreneur in renewable energy sector, like I want to ask, what is the scope of installation of renewable energy systems, like small scale solar power plant in a limited land mass? Can we do that?
Okay. If you permit, I'll respond to that, and if anybody else wants to respond to that, please do. I think as far as solar power plant is concerned, you would know that solar power, the efficiency of solar power depends a lot on the irradiation level. Now, in Assam and in the northeast, there, except for a few places, few districts in Lower Assam and in the Barak Valley, the irradiation levels are not really very high. So this is one problem which you will see. But having said that, it is not a strict no with a lot of subsidies of the government, and with the prices of solar panels coming down every day, I think it is a possibility you will look at. But besides that, I think you should also look at the possibility of micro and mini hydels. I think that is why we have a lot of potential. We have rivers and streams. Every village has a river. So off-grid micro hydel, mini hydel, I think there is potential in that area. Would anybody else like to respond to this? Manojda, would you like to add anything? Yeah, just a second. I think you have to unmute yourself.
Yeah. I think these we have been talking about renewable energy, solar, and I think gasifiers has a great scope here because we have a lot of biomass. Then briquetting out of bamboo. In some tea gardens, they are like in Arunachal, there is the Donipro tea estate. Now they are looking at bamboo briquettes as an alternative source of energy because carrying coal is very costly for them, and plenty of bamboo available in Arunachal Pradesh. So that will localize. We have to see what kind of alternative energy source we can tap, and solar, of course, we can use for dehydration. The solar drying, solar dryers. We have tried it. Well, I was in IA that time. We developed one solar dryer, which nano material coated trays and all. So the solar dryer based fruits and vegetable dryer, we can use solar energy in that. Then drying of leaves and other things for at home scale to dry, like say tulsi patta or our kari patta. All these for mixing with our tea, small tea growers, the produce of small tea growers. So then you can blend and make tea. But then for drying, you can use this direct solar heating. So solar heating, of course, as you are mentioning that the efficiency goes ups and down, but like even in countries like Germany or Netherlands, where they get very less solar rays, solar energy. Even there, they have developed solar panels that with very high efficiency. So those kinds of technological upgradation we have to do, and I think there is scope in all that. And as you said, this harnessing the hydropower, like streams or our nalas or small rivers, there are, I think, now submersible kind of small turbines are available now. You can just dip there and it will generate electricity. So these Chinese have developed that, and our engineering college and other IIT Guwahati, they can develop something like that where we have so much of, I mean, water streams and rivulets, rivers available. Even in Brahmaputra, I wonder why we cannot harness this Ranota River water, I mean, energy. We have all these big posts. I think we can put some turbines. I don't know what kind of turbine you can put, but you can really generate enough electricity from the flow near Umananda or some other areas. Somebody should give a try on that. Maybe the piers of the bridges, you can put some turbine in between. There is a continuous flow because the water flow is about 1 trillion metric tons per year at the Pandughat, the Brahmaputra. So much of water flows there. 1 trillion metric tons is 1 million tons of water. You can imagine the force of that kind of a weight. So I think there is scope, but we have not tried. We have been only looking at West or some other place. We should try it at local level and experiment. That experimenting component is missing from our from our culture of late. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. That's very
Abhinav, does that answer your question, or would you like to ask? You have a different question. If you have, please unmute yourself and go ahead.
Hello, sir.
Yeah.
May I know about the future scope of plastic processing industries in Assam?
Okay, plastic processing.
Yes, sir.
Would anybody like to take that? Yeah, Mr. Manoj Das would like to take that. Please go ahead. Manoj, please unmute yourself. You have to unmute yourself. Yeah.
See, plastic processing, we have this Brahmaputra Valley gas cracker that produces 220,000 metric ton of HDP, then LLDP, LDP, and polypropylene and polystyrene. 5 polymers are produced there, and polystyrene and polypropylene engineering plastic. Polypropylene is for like pipes and other things. So there is a lot of scope, and consumption per capita is very, very low in Northeast. So this in NetFi, we prepared a bouquet of project profiles. About 20 project profiles are were prepared long back to use the plastic produced by our gas cracker. And we have this CPET training center in Sangsari. So I will request or suggest him to go there and find out. And future is definitely, it's great. Plastic, I mean, plastic is used in all spheres of our life. And in some places it is demonized also, don't use plastic. But plastic has saved so many trees also, that we should not forget. And like plastic for furnitures, chairs and all they can make, and plastic for, say, we are importing, like at Naramek, we are supplying input to Assam Agriculture Department. And these green shades we are importing from outside. And those can be manufactured here, green shades, then poles, then chairs, and household items, buckets, mugs, whatnot, so many items we can make. Also, you can go for like fusion. We have this full jharu. These handles can be made from plastic, and we can have small plants where full jharu can be, nicely made, and there is a large market. We can have a larger market. Then most of the plastic goes out now, and the hub of plastic manufacturing in Ankleshwar near Surat. So I would request the person who asked the question to go and explore actually and visit Plast India. At least go to Sangsari and meet the officials at CPET, and they will give him good idea. Thank you.
Thank you so much. With that, I think we now come to the end of today's session, a very interesting interactive session. But before I do that, I think I must thank all of you for joining this very interesting session. Particularly, I'd like to thank the speakers. Mrs. Manjula Sekia, she has had to leave, but despite her busy schedule, she joined us. I think a big thank you to her from all of us here. I'd like to thank Mr. Sandeep Ahuja, who has taken out time from his busy schedule and joined in from Bombay. Thank you, sir. Thank you for joining this very interactive session. And I think after listening to you today, we'd like to interact with you more in future, and we'll be bothering you for your time.
My pleasure. My pleasure.
Thank you. Thank you. I'd like to thank MWA for the support that they extended. Rajat Banerjee, thank you very much for joining, for your very informative speech. Sandeep, if you're there, thank you. Dr. Abhijit Sharma, he had a very important meeting. He could not join at 3 o'clock, but true to his promise, he made an effort and joined us later and contributed greatly to today's discussion. Thank you so much, sir, for your wonderful speech and for all the information that you shared. And I think a big thank you to all of you for all the support in terms of joining, in terms of questions that you have asked. They were very good. Thank you all. Thank you very much, and see you again very soon in the next program series, the 19th. You can all join. We'll be targeting a few other sectors 19th, and you are all invited to join. Thank you. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.